Hey. We
have a little story.
We got to tell about
two people watching movies.
Quarantine so well.
Yeah, that was way better.
Well, I've had more years of listening to the Beastie Boys than you have. I don't know what to do with this
You
pillow.
know me.
So yeah, we as you probably know from clicking on this and whatnot, we saw the Beastie Boys documentary called.
We saw Beastie Boys story.
Yes, not what was it? Not the Beastie Boys.
Not the Beastie
just
Boys.
Beastie Boys.
They'll come for you.
We saw Beastie Boys story.
Yeah, they are not the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, and anybody doesn't know that doesn't know real hip hop.
Right.
Hate that statement. It's annoying.
Hey guys, this is Michelle.
This is Josh coming straight at you, boy. 80s talk. Yo, money.
Live in Hollywood. That wasn't really 80s. That was like Access Hollywood.
That's the last 90 years of film and television.
Yeah,
Live from Hollywood. It's Dean Martin and Friends.
Apologies.
Dean Martin and Friends. Starring Art Linkletter. Whatever.
Oh, okay. Well, coming from you live from our couch.
From the couch.
Because we're all still safer at home.
From the dungeons of the couches.
Staying at home or whatever they're calling it.
Ha, 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 ha. Staying at home. Staying at home.
I thought you were going to keep going.
Nope. We don't have time for all that.
Fine.
We
have all the time in the world. Didn't we just cover this?
It's our time.
We are all in quarantine. Remember?
Yeah, but don't you want to get that fresh Brothers
pizza night?
Brooklyn. Oh.
Where is Fresh Brothers from? Is it a local spot? Or
Probably.
Is it...
I've never heard of it until we moved over here.
I haven't Googled this.
Googled.
I don't know where Fresh Brothers.
Googled it.
We love us some Fresh Brothers pizza.
Yeah, it's the sauce is good and it's convenient. I think I've already mentioned the
Across
sauce. We've talked about Fresh Brothers.
Did I tell you what the deal was today?
Isn't it buy one get another one for one?
I think that was yesterday.
Isn't today Tuesday? I thought they had Tuesday deals.
They have deals every single day. I get an email with a deal for Fresh Brothers.
Is this a podcast about Fresh Brothers?
Yes. Hey, Fresh Brothers, you're welcome on the podcast anytime.
Just come across the street and talk to us through a window because we're not letting you in.
No, we're not letting you in.
So yeah, we're gonna have Fresh Brothers probably. So what have you been up to? Besides thinking about Fresh Brothers, no more Fresh Brothers.
No more Fresh Brothers. Well, yesterday we filmed your video.
Yes.
For a thingamajig.
That's right.
What's it
We're
called?
building a
Leslie
thingamajig.
speaker.
Yeah,
right?
Don't tell everybody.
Oh, sorry.
I'm gonna bleep this out,
Cut
or you're
that
gonna
out.
bleep it out.
Okay.
A beep. People are like, whoa, where were they filming?
Okay, we're building a thing for a video.
A thing for a video.
Thingamajig. I'll
That's
steal
right.
that phrase from Little Mermaid.
Producer's kitchen in the house. The producer's kitchen. There is a the in the producer's kitchen.
Right.
On YouTube.
Right.
So yeah, we were filming that.
Guess what else? Oh, I made scones. Blueberry scones.
Scones.
On Saturday. I got my bacon. Not bacon.
Nope.
But I got my bacon.
Chew bacon.
And I made some really yummy scones.
It's good.
I bought a sifter so I could do this because for years I've been reading the word sift ingredients, sift ingredients in these recipes. And I thought, I'm a terrible baker, y'all. I don't do.
She's a sift lord.
And I don't do well with all the required patience that comes along with baking.
I remember Axl Rose once told me that's all I needed.
Was patience?
All you need is just a little patience.
Was he singing about baking?
Probably. Or foreign policy. I don't know.
Baking takes some patience, and I just have never had it. And so I always ignore things like sift your flour. But I thought, hey, it's quarantine.
You're getting in trouble for sifting your flour.
I'm going to sift some flour.
Was it fun?
It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's like if it was any more than 2 cups of flour, I probably would just quit. But no, you
That's
can't
how you get
return
good
things
stuff.
these days, so I can't even return it to Target. I'm stuck with a sifter now.
That's right.
But I'll
Sifter for
do it.
life.
I'll do it. I'll keep it up.
We ain't going nowhere.
I was pleasantly surprised.
We ain't
The
going
scones
nowhere.
turned out really yummy. And also, it's a good biscuit recipe too. Just no blueberries. It's just a biscuit with blueberries in it.
It's sifting for life. That's nice.
Yeah, so there was a lot of scone talk and baking talk. But
Scone talk.
That's what my weekend was. I made a Target run and I baked some scones.
Yeah. Target scones.
I really don't remember what else happened this weekend.
I slept a lot.
All these days are running together.
I've been trying to sleep a lot more and take advantage of this because I'm always trying not to sleep. So I've been waking up at like 10 o'clock.
Yeah. After you stay up all night and then you sleep.
Yeah. But I used to stay up all night and then wake up early.
Right.
Now I'm just
staying up all night.
I'm not setting an alarm.
Is that a song too? I'm surprised you didn't sing it. Isn't there a song about stay up all night, sleep all day? Am I making something up?
Yeah, that is something. Then there's up all night.
It's something.
USA's up all night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what have you been doing?
What I've been doing?
Sleeping?
I was sleeping. I got a workshop I'm doing, so I've been working on that. We were working on the video. I'm working on sound packs. I'm just trying to be productive because my hours got cut at work. And I don't know what the future holds. So I'm trying to see what's out there. If people like if they're picking up what I'm putting down.
Right.
So
pick it up, y'all.
Yeah, pick it up. What we've been watching. What we've been watching. Beep, 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 beep.
Bing.
I fell asleep to Twins last night.
Twins? Like twins with tall
I
and
was
short?
watching Minty do a video, 10 things you don't know about twins. And then I said, hey, Roku, is Twins available for free to me? And it was like, it is on HBO.
Is Twins? Twins was the movie with Arnold and Danny DeVito. Have I seen this movie?
I don't know. We can watch it.
I've seen you just watch. Oh, you fell asleep.
I fell asleep to Twins.
Okay, we can watch it.
Twins. And I didn't fall asleep to those twins. Well, I could. You have twins, but
anyway,
story. Yeah. Funny thing is, it was heavily filmed on Hollywood Boulevard, and it was interesting because I was like, "Hey, that's where my work is," it's been there since the 80s. And then I was like, "Oh, that's where the 7-Eleven is now," and that's blah blah blah. The corner across from Hollywood and Highland, where it's just that building that nobody uses, that allegedly was, at least in the movie, it said it was a savings and loan bank. Huh? So I was interesting.
I could see that.
So it's interesting to see like how it looks exactly the same, and then what different businesses are there, which you could see for sure. And obviously Hollywood and Highland wasn't there, but they didn't really show that side. But the Valero used to be a Chevron over by the Methodist Church.
I think Hollywood and Highland has been there a very long time.
It's been there like 18 years.
But it just didn't have...
Not in 1988.
Oh, I thought it had been there a long time.
No, there was something... there's pictures you can look online.
With the elephants?
And then I lost them.
Oh, okay.
Well, that was a recreation of...
a set, I think, right?
Yeah.
I forgot what movie.
Cecil DeMille, he did this epic movie, and they built a set somewhere in Hollywood, like nearby, and then it sat there for like 35 years. Nobody tore it down. So then when they built Hollywood and Highland, they paid homage to that there. But that area was just
nothing. Okay.
It might have been a parking lot. I don't remember.
Probably.
I saw a picture once, and it took me 4 hours to find it because I was like, what used to be there? And I found it, and then I didn't grab a link, so I could never go back. Never doing that again.
No.
I was up late.
So speaking of Minty, have we talked about Minty before?
I think
on the podcast?
Mentioned last week.
Last week? Okay.
Yeah. Minty Comic Arts. Look him up on YouTube.
Comic Arts. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Or Comedic Arts.
Comedic Arts. Comic Arts.
And his name's like Mark Brown or something?
Yeah, but if you just look up Minty and then movies, he's going to come up. He has 4 years.
The thing is, y'all, this week we watched
Well, the last month I've been watching.
Well, yeah, but he talks about old movies, and so every episode I'm like, it's 10 things you maybe didn't know about whatever, and then I feel like I need to watch the movie. So we watched the episode about Back to the Future 2 and 3, and then this week we watched Back to the Future 2.
They'll say,
and now we need to watch 3 because it didn't finish. If you've seen it, you know Back to the Future 2 has no resolve because, well, there's other things. Watch Minty's video. It'll tell you some interesting things about that. But we're a little bit obsessed with Minty now, and I enjoy the episodes, but you have been like binge watching it. Like,
yeah, there's so much content. It's kind of insane. So
anyway,
that's going to be my new
shout out to Minty.
Yeah, that's going to be my thing. If I ever get famous and I go to Australia to do something.
Hey, Minty.
I'll be like, hey, I want to meet Minty.
You're welcome on the podcast anytime.
It's not.
We should totally try and get him. That would be amazing.
That would be. We could interview our first interview.
Our first guest Minty. Would be Minty from Australia.
He would blow us away with everything he has looked up.
Yeah.
We also watched Run, which Michelle is saddened about the last episode.
No, I like it. I am a little. Well, I'm going to reserve judgment until the next episode and see how it progresses.
It jumped into the trope pool.
It did a little bit.
So that's why Michelle is having a hard time.
Hoping it's not a jump the shark kind of a thing.
I don't think it's going to jump the shark. I think it might have just gone down a track that we're used to. Yeah. But it may show you some interesting scenery. Like, wow, that's changed since the last time we've gone down that trope.
I'm hoping. Because I really enjoy the show.
Yeah. And lastly, we watched Rick and Morty.
We did.
And that was a bloodbath.
Did it get
put him in a Johnny? Put him in a Johnny bag. I should start saying that. Put him in a Johnny bag. Or is it go get a body bag? I realized I said it.
Oh,
I thought it was put him in a body bag, just like people say, "Luke, I am your father," but that's not what he says.
Right.
He says like, "Go get a body bag" or something.
What movie is this from?
I was supposed to say The Golden Child.
Karate Kid.
Karate Kid.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
So yeah, that was the whole thing.
We're watching.
All right. So that ends our segment. What we've been watching.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm sold on that.
That's the one.
Theme music.
See, I tried one in the beginning. I'm gonna try a different one in the end.
Okay.
And then eventually I'll come to one that's good.
Okay.
Or I'll combine them all into one giant intro.
They all play at the same time.
Yes, and then it's just like.
Yeah.
So hit us with the
all right. It's synopsis time.
Synopsis.
Right. So we watched, as we said, Beastie Boys story, and normally I read the synopsis from IMDb, but I didn't want to today because it was on Apple TV that we watched it, and I like their little synopsis. I wish I had read this actually before we jumped into watching it. So here we go. Here's a little story they're about to tell. Mike Diamond and Adam Horowitz share the story of their band and 40 years of friendship in a live documentary experience directed by friend, collaborator, and their former grandfather, Spike Jonze.
Man, it's always hard when you have to divorce your grandfather.
Right?
Your longtime collaborator. Collaborator? I've never said it that way before.
I mean, it sounds very complicated. Paperwork, lawyers.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah, good
but
stuff.
Here's why I wish I had read this.
Why?
Because I came into this, I thought this was a documentary.
Uh-huh.
So I expected like the typical documentary format where maybe there's a narrator or it kind of goes slowly through things and it's interview clips weaved together with video and pictures and whatever.
You thought it was going down the trope tracks.
Well, just a regular documentary.
Trope tracks.
Right. Or like, I don't know. So I didn't expect a live, like this says, a live documentary experience because I wrote down, I said, this looks more like, this is like a stand-up special / TED Talk.
TED Up.
Not exactly a documentary. So that's cool. It was different. It just took me a minute to get into it. They moved very quickly through their time. Like they told their stories and then kept moving. And so it took me a bit to get caught up with like, okay, who's what now and where, how old are they now? Like I was trying to storyboard it like a documentary would, where it moves linearly, right? And they kind of moved that way, but also skipped years and people, and it just all jumped very quickly. So if I'm to believe this as they said it, which actually might be very true, it seems like it, they never had jobs. They immediately left calculus class in high school and became rock stars and ruled the world.
Hey, you know.
So maybe that's how it really went down. And that's at the end of actually at the end, I thought, wait, did they ever have an actual job? Like, have they ever held jobs?
Well, no.
But then one of them mentioned he used to wash dogs. So
yeah, they mentioned a couple of jobs. They mentioned a couple of jobs. Yeah,
so I missed it. Well, see, it went too quickly.
I could bring it up later.
I didn't catch everything.
I'll just talk about it now. It was a point that I was going to point out is Yak had a job. Remember, he was managing an apartment building. After they toured.
Right. Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, they had some sort of jobs.
Right. This just wasn't the kind of full documentary experience where they dive into everything and pick it all apart. I thought I was really going to get a deep dive into Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
And so it just took my brain a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, this is not what I was expecting. Let me adjust and now get into whatever this is, which was pretty cool. I thought it was interesting.
I think it's obviously going to be a little bit different because it's their story and they're telling it.
Right.
You know? If somebody else would have came in, like if Michael Rappaport would have came in and done a documentary about the Beastie Boys, it would have been a totally different thing.
Completely,
because it's from, a fan's perspective. But I think that's always, I guess it's not really a curse because they did it really well. But I think that's the blessing of a curse of having someone intimately involved in a project about them. And I think what's hard, about most people that have any sort of, or somewhat interesting of any way, is that they don't think they're interesting. So I know people, or what they know is not interesting. Like I'll say for myself, when I sit with people and teach them stuff, I'm like, hey, ADSRs and oscillators and blah, and building tracks and drums. And then they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's like the kick drum and the snare. And they're like, how does that work? And I'm like, you just lay it down. And then like, I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm like, oh, you don't understand drum programming. All right, well, but to me, it's so like, Right. So I think that's the thing. They had to obviously fit it in a format that was entertaining and worked. But I think also, like, especially the way that Ad Rock kind of handles himself, I've seen in interviews, is he's very grateful and thankful for it. But he's not like, oh, let me tell you this. Oh, let me tell you this. Oh, let me tell you this. So
the way he told some of those stories, he seems a little bit, they still seem a little bit flabbergasted by some of it. Like
I think so.
Most of the stories started with, and then the crazy stuff happened.
Right.
Like they acknowledged that their trajectory was nuts. Like everything that happened was just a strange story.
I think it's just like you said, they didn't really hold jobs. They were a bunch of kids running around acting stupid. And then all of a sudden they're on tour with Madonna.
Right. Well, I wrote down, I said they're high school punk rock rappers in front of Russell Simmons at 16.
Right.
Like what?
Yeah. And then they're just set loose on the world.
Right.
On the bit one of the, well, it was her first, I don't know if it was her first tour. That's something I should have looked at, was if it was her first like tour as trying to think. Her first album was good and got play, but it wasn't like a Virgin and all that type of stuff.
Material Girl? Wasn't that like early?
Yeah, that was early, but that it could be even
earlier.
Yeah.
Well, they were still very, like, they said they came home and told everyone they knew they were on tour with Madonna. So she was clearly huge.
That's what I'm saying. She was huge, but like she blew up at a certain point in the 80s where it was just kind of like, oh, snap. But yeah, that slightly depends. You know what I'm saying? To a degree. But either way, you're just some kids who just figured out how to rap, sort of.
Right.
And They're like, hey, you want to go on tour with Madonna? You know, that's like saying.
I think they said they had like 2 songs, right?
Yeah, that's like if that's either saying, do you want to go on tour with Ariana Grande, or she's still kind of popping, right? I'm trying to think of a female artist.
Ariana Grande?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, or yeah, because she's newer. I would say Beyonce, but Ariana Grande is kind of newer, you know. Or like if it's like Virgin or whatever, we're talking like Lady Gaga tour. And that would be insane for your first tour to be like, oh, I'm going out with Lady Gaga. But it's also a mismatch. It was funny. They said like we were cursing out these people and trying to act tough, and then it was like 14-year-old
girls, bunch of little girls
in flower dresses.
That's hilarious. That's so funny.
Yeah, that happened a lot with a lot of Def Jam people. Like that happened to LL Cool J as well, and you know, there's quite a number of people.
Who did LL go on tour with? That was a mismatch.
No. He was like 15.
Oh, I see.
It was just kind of like it was just this kid, and then the next day he's LL Cool J.
Right.
And then he's like big, you know.
Right.
And I think that's always seems to be the thing when there's something that becomes huge. They're obviously looking for young talent because that gives a long revenue stream, and they're looking for moldable people. You don't want to find a rapper that's. I'm not saying you don't want to, but to make quick money, you don't want to find a rapper that's like, or a person in a genre that's older and can be like, I don't know about that. Like I have a job. I'm not letting you. You know,
this is what I do.
Yeah. Or even if they're a carpenter, you know, they're like, I'm carpenting and you're going to want me to tour the world for $500 and then not pay me royalties. Like that's insane.
Right.
Yeah. So
speaking of the early days, I didn't know there was a girl in the band originally.
I did.
Kate?
That was only like in the early 2000s. I found out. Yep.
A girl drummer.
Kate Capshaw.
That's her name, Kate? Capshaw? I was like, wait.
Yeah, but it's not Kate Capshaw.
Oh, I was like, who's Kate Capshaw? I know that name.
She's an actress.
But that was surprising to me. And they seemed very remorseful.
Yeah.
About how all that went down. So, bummer for Kate at the time, I guess. Who knows? Maybe it was better that she wasn't. I don't know. Who knows? You know.
Well, yeah, she didn't want to rap. So there's that.
Oh, she didn't want to?
No, they said that. They said like,
oh,
we were hanging out. We were hanging out with
Well, they met up with Rick Rubin.
Yeah, they were hanging out with Rick all the time,
right?
And they were rapping, and she wasn't there.
Oh,
and then they were like, bring her all these raps,
it.
and she's like, okay. But
well,
yes, they showed her rapping.
Be the drum? Yeah, they showed her. And that was so funny. They were holding paper like a new comic.
They're like, hey, so my name is... You know, it was hilarious looking because they were babies with holding pieces of paper rapping about how tough they were. But they couldn't memorize their rhymes.
Right.
No, she couldn't be the drummer because like they said, that's not the way rap was at the time. Or rap was like, hey, we have a band and we're going to have these guys play music. And then you rap over it. But then it was slowly becoming... You just need a drum machine or a DJ.
Well, yeah,
and that's the cool thing.
True.
So it would have been like, why do you have a drummer?
So yeah, she's phased out.
It's
by
like,
technology. The robots took her job.
Well, it's kind of like all these LA bass shows. You show up with a laptop and a controller or 2. You don't show up with like 7 items or a full band. It's like, we're not set up for that. It's like, you know, have your DJ put the records on there's like a turntable up there. Have your DJ put the records up. You rap, get off the stage. Next people rap.
Well, I could tell that they felt bad about the whole Kate situation.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a thing that I'm learning as I get older and as people get older, that I look up to. You realize like Tupac died at 27. I remember telling you this. Like he was a child. Like I remember when I was 27, and I could definitely see why Ham and Biggie and all these people did all these dumb things because they were 27 and they were rich since, well, Tupac wasn't rich since, but, you know, Biggie got rich fast. Tupac possibly got rich twice fast-ish. So it's like when you have money and all this prestige and whatever, you're 27 and you're single, like you're going to make these dumb decisions. And then if you're a rapper at 15 and people are throwing money at you and you're having also just great experiences doing a thing that you're doing. It's very hard to be like, oh, well, let me
fight to keep this chick in the drums.
It's like, she's not really going the direction we're going. Let's move forward, you know? And, you know, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
And the Foo Fighters talked about that and other things I've watched. They like fired band members through, one guy was fired through phone conference, one of the guitar players.
Oh, gosh.
They were just kind of like, hey, man, we just want to let you know you don't have to come back down. We're letting you go.
Oh, man.
And it was like Dave and him knew each other for years. The drummer, they told him not to come back down from Washington to do some post-production because Dave re-recorded all the drums.
Oh.
But I'm like, you know.
Well, and they also talked about how they let her go because also they were just trying to be like tough boys.
Yeah.
Like aside from the music stuff, right? They were just trying to be tough boys or tough guy. Yeah,
that's
boys.
Never the
they
thing.
Kept saying boys.
That's never the look to be a tough boy. You want to be a tough man.
I don't even think they were shooting for men. I think they were just trying to act tough.
But that's what I'm saying. Like a tough man, I feel like is different from a tough boy.
That's true.
Like what people think is a tough man is usually a tough boy.
That's true. So they were just being tough boys.
They were trying to be tough men, right? But they were really just being tough boys.
Right. And they even I forgot who was talking about it, but talking about the song "Girls."
Yeah.
And I remember you used to listen to that song all the time, and it has a fun little bebop, and I felt like it was a joke.
Right.
Like I felt like
the whole band was a joke.
Well, yeah, and they even said they were a joke, but then people
took them seriously.
Like the fight for your right to party.
Yeah.
And how that was supposed to be a joke, but then all the bro dudes identified with it and loved
always
it.
Messing it up.
And then they became the bro dudes themselves, just partying on stage. So it was like the jokes they were too well embraced.
Wait a minute. So they're the original Tekashi 6ix9ine. They were trying to act like something they weren't, and then got sucked into the life of the thing that they were faking about.
Right.
They're like, look, we're women, what is it? Not women getting. We're skirt chasing, beer drinking, party people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, haha, that'll be funny. And then it was like, yeah, kegs, girls.
Right.
Yeah, that was interesting. I think, to go with that, this documentary is one of the most grown-up male things I've ever seen from an artist, or let alone from most people I've ever seen on TV. Like, I've never seen so much speak of growth and actually seen it. Like, not just on them saying it now, but when they were doing the Tibetan Freedom concert, I was like, is this like a Beatles thing? Or like they getting in the Eastern music? Like, what's going on here? And I remember not really writing it off or whatever, or thinking it was a phase, but just being like, well, what are they doing and what's going on? But it was like they were evolving and growing. And then when they went to Capitol, it was the same kind of thing. I was like, what? Like Def Jam? Like, what happened? And it's like they were wearing different clothes and living out in LA. And, and then as they got older and I saw a lot of the not political, but really speaking up for people, I was like, man, that's the kind of thing you want to see from dudes.
Yeah.
And then also for them to, like you're saying, to apologize for their missteps. Like, I've never seen a documentary where somebody does that. Like, I don't think Dr. Dre or Jay-Z will ever listen to this, and no offense to them, but like the documentary that he did on HBO, like, really glossed over a lot of them. Like, I listen to The Chronic now and it's like hard to listen to. It's like it came on Spotify and it was like, the album you've been waiting for is finally here. And I was like, to listen to people talk about women like horribly for an hour and 40 minutes or whatever long.
Right.
And I know obviously just like with the Beastie Boys that there can be some level of humor and I understand that when someone calls somebody a hoe or says hoes, it's not every single woman in the world, that idea, but it's just like at some point it just becomes like beating a dead horse.
Right.
And I think when you look back at it as an adult, you're like, oh. So I think that's how they kind of felt, was like, man, we did all these things. We spoke this way about women. We didn't work hard to, incorporate our band member who was a woman. And I think, you
they definitely acknowledged it.
Yeah.
And made a point to bring it up.
Right.
And it
made a point to change it.
Yeah, to own it and to change it. And then I loved it in that line when he said that they were doing interviews for the documentary and somebody called him a hypocrite. It was Ad Rock said that.
Yeah.
And they said, how can you, what did they say? They called him a hypocrite for their attitudes toward women,
it was
I
like
guess.
The fight for your right guy is the one trying to tell us about helping women or whatever.
Right. And he said he'd rather be a hypocrite than the same guy forever.
Yeah.
Which seemed pretty cool, of like, you own that people change.
Right.
Like, we all have a chance to change. We don't have to be our same stupid selves.
Stupid
forever.
Me. Stupid me. Yeah, but she's the drummer for Luscious Jackson.
Right.
I didn't know for sure if they were still Lusciousing, but they still are, so I had to look it up.
Oh, she's still the drummer?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. The way they said it made it sound like she only played with them like as a session drummer. Like when they toured or something.
I think they said, we got her a gig or something. So maybe she wasn't the drummer at the time. And then like, we know somebody.
Right.
Hey, let's try to make up for this because she's got the chops and we got the band. So, the other thing I was going to say about that is I remember when Jay-Z was on Dave's show, on Letterman's show on Netflix. And I thought, wow, this is going to be a really deep talk about men opening up their psyche and their feelings about their relationships with their wives and other women, because Jay-Z was publicly I guess outed about his affair, and then Dave had to come on television talk about how he had an inappropriate work relationship.
Oh, right.
So I was like, man, this is going to be a real deep, because Dave Letterman's like almost 70. Jay-Z has matured a lot. Like, I'm from what I'm about to say, I'm not saying he hasn't, but I was like, this is going to be a real talk. And they were just kind of like, yeah, I had done some things and it was blah, and we've worked through it and blah, blah, blah. And Dave said like one sentence or so. And I was like, dude, this is the time.
Right. Like it's a real
to
missed
have a
opportunity.
real conversation and really talk to young men and boys about relationships and how you really should be treating your significant other and what kind of damage that does. Because I think people think, oh, well, it was an accident. This just happened and we can get through this. And it's like, they could both be like, yo, this was hard.
Right.
And like, I didn't know if I was going to have a wife, have kids in my life. If I was going to be sleeping on a couch, she's going to take all my money, or, if I was losing everything, like that wasn't spoke about. And I feel like if people speak more like they did, candid about those type of things, I think it would make people, like if I was a 15-year-old about to sign a deal or something with whatever, and then I watch this, I'd be like, oh, I could do a lot of good. I can be very respectful. I could blah, blah, blah. And, I thought for that was a missed opportunity. But here, they really did their thing.
Yeah. It was, I wrote down that there's hindsight, and they recognized and they changed.
Better recognize.
They recognized. You know what else about recognizing?
What do you recognize?
I realized that because throughout the documentary, they would play like the first two notes of a song, or like the first split second of a song, which made me realize how many immediately identifiable songs they have.
Yeah.
Like that's all you need is like those first couple of things from a song, and everyone's like amped.
Yeah, it's definitely,
which that can't be said for like very many.
Right.
I mean, there's lots of songs out there that are you recognize, but I wouldn't say that about very many songs right now. Maybe
not that I know, because I don't listen to many things from right now.
Radio, but anyway, that's an accomplishment. All I'm saying is like especially for me to recognize a song. You know, I have no idea who sings songs or what they are.
You're like, is this a song by ABC? I'm like, the network? You think the network released this song?
Right. You're like, no, we are watching a documentary about Beastie Boys. It's probably the Beastie Boys. No, but that's something to be said for their sound and whatever their magic was.
Yeah.
Which seems like it was mostly Uke. Is that how you say his name?
Yak.
Uke?
The two Yaks.
Ukes.
The two Ukes.
I wrote down that Yak was a magician.
Yeah.
That's how they talked about him.
Yeah, it was interesting when I found that out. I forgot how I found that out at some point about, all the things I think it was when I found out Oscilloscope was his production company. And then I was like, huh? And then I started digging in. Yeah, I think it was I was going to say the thing that was also really cool, I don't know, I'm biased, but I'm like, I feel like the 90s was one of the great music decades. I know there was a lot of bad stuff, obviously, like any decade, but I'm just like, Lollapalooza was born, like the festival kind of like circuit got really going. And then also it was raw.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of raw television happening. And it was this kind of like we've spoken before, like all the people who were in that, like our age bracket, maybe five years back, maybe if they had older brothers and people a little bit 10 years up, like we were able to ride that wave of technology, but also like if your friend got separated in the mosh pit, you just hope you found them later. Like
right.
There was no,
you just meet back at the car.
Right. There was no like, oh, I'm gonna take all these pictures and I'm gonna video and I'm gonna buy, and how are we gonna look when we whatever. You were just trying to impress the two other people in front of you. So I think like the experience, yeah, because they were jacking around in the studio and whatnot and playing video games and basketball, but they weren't like on Twitter and like, yo, we're about to do this album, it's gonna be amazing.
Right.
Like, they're spending 2 hours on their Twitter game and their IG.
Right. They were just skateboarding and playing basketball.
Yeah, and communing and stuff. So I was like, man, the 90s really was a really great time where we had the future, but we also had the past. And so it's kind of cool.
It was like a bridge. That time is like a nice bridge decade.
Where you look out and go, man, what's it going to be like on the bridge? And you're like, well, that's what it was like. Oh, interesting. Right. Little did we know we'd be locked in our homes. Right. But
that's the future.
I think like we were talking about their emotional growth. Mm-hmm. Their creative growth was really interesting.
Yeah.
As well, because I think not until the 2000s did I really start looking back at how much they had grown, because like I knew the License to Ill guys and my friends listened to the other albums, but I didn't really listen to them. And then Hella Nasty came out and then I started listening to them and then I started going back. And then I was like, oh, okay. But the problem with the License to Ill was kind of like they said, the fratness of it just kind of overtook everything. And I think also as like a young, I'll say as a young black youth in New York City listening to Public Enemy, it wasn't like the greatest thing to keep seeing these three white guys dominate the rap music.
Yeah.
So, and then also their music was silly, but like you're saying, like after you hear it a bunch of times, you start being like, well, are they just frat guys?
Right. They're not really saying anything.
Yeah, because like for me, when you have like Camaro driving Italian guys from South Ozone Park blasting those songs, and they're frat dudes themselves, you're kind of like, wait a minute, is this like fun music or is this like anthem for the people that like chase me down this, not me,
right,
but chase other black New Yorkers down the street with baseball bats and whatnot? Like, what kind of people are these people? So it was kind of a weird situation to be but as time went on, I was able to look and see like who they were and who they become, and then as you read interviews and all that stuff, it becomes apparent who they were.
And I don't know. I don't know what Beastie Boys I know. Like, obviously the old stuff, but then I also don't know what newer songs I know and where they land in these different phases of albums that they had going on. But this makes me want to go and like purposefully listen to the different albums.
Listen to all the boys.
Yeah, because I'm not a person that listens to albums per se.
She's a singles girl.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I owned.
You want about this? No, just play me that one song.
I did.
She's like, do you guys have any Beyonce?
I owned so many single cassettes growing up. I did. I had a song. I loved it. I got it. There were some albums I got, but
only for the single.
I did one of those singles, yeah. But
you're like, song 4.
Skip.
There we go.
Skip. So yeah, so I have no idea all these other albums. I don't know that I've ever heard those album names before, ever.
I played you some Beastie Boys, but you weren't probably playing attention.
But I didn't know
like
what
the other stuff. Yeah, that's true.
Like what it was from, or
I didn't say like this is 5 boroughs.
Right. Hey, we're listening. They have one called 5 Boroughs. Oh,
it's my least favorite album.
What was one? It was like Paul's Boutique.
Yeah.
Huh.
It was very like.
Well, I was
Who's this? This is Doji Cat. Doji Cat?
I thought they said boutique in the thing, but then I was thinking, why is it Paul's Boutique? I was like, maybe I didn't hear that right. But who knows why anything is?
Well, boutique, they were wearing all that ladies' clothes, so maybe they got that.
Maybe.
Yeah, they didn't explain that album, really. Like why they named it that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing, like, if it were a real documentary, it would have delved into some of these things.
Real. Take that, Spike Jones, just saying. You fake hack.
No.
We're not going to praise you like we should at all.
What should I say? A typical documentary?
Yeah.
Okay, a typical documentary would have delved in and we would have gotten more detail on some of these things. So now I have to go read the book because now I want to read the book because apparently it's a really long book and it probably goes in way deeper into all these stories. So
better. It's the movie just in book form.
I know. I'm like, dang it.
It's like a book of the book of the book of the movie of the book.
You just watched this.
I think one thing that was interesting is they did not talk about Yak that much, but I think
they talked about him the whole time.
For a while they didn't talk about, like the whole beginning they didn't really talk about him that much, and then over time they talked about him more.
Well, I guess because they were sharing their stories.
Yeah, but I think part of it might have been because they just were gonna cry the whole time.
Yeah,
like if they started at the beginning just sharing about him, they would have just cried the whole time. Because once they did, they were just like starting to cry the whole time.
Yeah, because I mean they definitely gave him credit for putting the band together, right? For one, and then his magician ability to put things together, and the music and the camera thing that he figured out, and then the tape loop thing he built, and they definitely gave him credit for being kind of a genius. But like the relationship stuff, I guess. Yeah, like once they got to that, Ad Rock sat down and said a whole thing, and then at one point you saw him turn to Mike and ask Mike to read his line because he said I can't. He said, "Can you finish this? I can't." So then Mike took over his lines because then they started getting all emotional. But they didn't. I guess I shouldn't have been surprised because of how the whole thing was, but like it wasn't. They didn't like delve into his illness and like this, like the whole experience of them going through that. Right. They, I'm sure, want to keep that a bit to themselves, but it's also probably some in the book. But that wasn't really what this was.
Right.
It didn't. That's not what this was about.
I guess my thought process on it was actually not that he wasn't talked about much. It was that he wasn't in it much. I think my thought of a conventional documentary is since he wasn't there to present that information, they were going to use interviews to have him explain
I see.
his side.
Maybe there weren't many. They did piece in.
You never know.
There were a few clips of interviews of him clearly doing an interview for somebody.
Right.
Told some story. But yeah, you're right. They didn't have which I thought must be hard for them to accurately tell this, you can only tell a story from your perspective, and to not have that third voice there.
Right.
To confer with, I guess. I guess you got 2 of the 3, so.
Yeah, I think the movie points out, I feel like even to me as an older person, but to younger people, which I think they do this, it's just, in different ways, and they do this anyway, but the power of being social. Like their whole story comes from just running around the city and meeting people and meeting friends of friends. And I have a lot of students that ask me, like, how do I meet people in LA and how do I blah, blah, blah? But it's really just you can't right now, but go to shows. But even online, like I have some friends that get together and just hang out on Zoom. Like we've done parties on Zoom, so you can still get together with people and just, we've met many of Paul's friends. So when we actually go back out, we'll know these people.
Right.
So.
And unfortunately, I mean, people have been like bagging on social media, like, oh, you've spent too much time on social media, but really that's kind of life now. Like that's where you meet people.
Right.
So there's groups and meetup, like those kinds of things you can join and still kind of have that social interaction. I mean, it's different now, but you can adapt, and it's not gonna be this way forever. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, you could definitely, do it either way. I just think, especially if you're a musician, there's coming to be ways to get stuff done on online, but before that happens, you still got to get out there and meet people.
Yeah,
I think still when you have that physical connection, it's still good.
But yeah, this definitely was like a tribute to their friend, a tribute to their friendship, and also, like you're saying, like a tribute to the collaboration and how your life can change and how they sought that out. Like you're saying, like in the beginning, they're just kids running in the streets, meeting people, and they randomly met this group of kids who were listening to crazy music and whatever. And then I can't remember how they met Rick Rubin, but I think it was kind of random too.
They needed a DJ, I think.
Yeah, they needed a DJ and heard about this guy. So they went to his dorm and said, hey. But then also when they worked with people, they were in LA, or Ad Rock was in LA and found out about a band, I think it was, and it was like, hey guys, you should come check these guys out.
Luscious Jackson.
No, it was Dive or
right. Yeah,
something. And he said, hey, come check these guys out. And there were 3 dudes making kind of experimental. They didn't seem like they were that far off from what Beastie Boys kind of wanted to be or was. So they could have seen them as competition or whatever. But they seemed to have more of like, they definitely had a competitive spirit when they said like they performed and they wanted to make sure they won the performance. But they also were very open to collaboration and really understood the value of working with other people and seeing what other people can bring to things, and how they brought in the that guy who happened to be a keyboard player.
Oh, Money Mark.
And then somebody else they brought in, and then they worked with those 3 guys in LA, and just having that spirit of being open to other people's talents and what other people can do and what you can learn from them. As they said, they Beastie Boys had toured the world, and they were they wanted to learn and sit with this group of guys who were at the time like nothing, really, but they wanted to like sit at their feet and learn.
Yeah, I think that was really important, just the ups and downs that they had, and the humility that they had in at least like the songwriting process, like you said, because they toured the world, they did all this cool stuff. They went on tour with Madonna, and then, like you were saying, Yauk is managing an apartment building,
Right.
So, and then they go to LA and they do all this work, and and I think a lot of people who work on a craft, they think that they're owed something, and ultimately we're never owed anything, but they were like, we did all this work and we made this beautiful album and we sampled all these songs and we put so much heart into it, and then people were like, I don't care.
Right. So
it's just like, it's just a humbling thing. Like, yeah, it's just music.
And they came out the gate so big.
Right.
And then, of course, you're going to go into your second project thinking everything's going to be received that way.
But also like 5 years, quote unquote, too late. Like you took too long. I guess not 5 years. Yeah, I forgot whatever.
I think it was like 4 years.
Yeah, you come out too late. After being like the hugest thing, but then people are like, nope, sorry, we're on to Vanilla Ice now or something like that.
But I think they really needed that.
Yeah,
really,
to be able to go deep and dig into what they actually wanted to do, which goes what you were saying of just really involving other people, and I think that was a huge thing for me personally to think about. And that's something I've been talking about, of trying to link up with people to make music and not just go off of my own and lean on my own understanding.
Right.
And I think that's something for anybody that's trying to do something of like collaborating and seeing what other people can bring to the table, obviously within the boundaries you have.
Right.
But
and I think, speaking of them falling, their second album, Falling Flat, I think one of my favorite things they said about that whole, I can't remember which one said it, but he said falling off can be fun. Because after that experience was when they were like, all right, we're just gonna stop with all this nonsense and the big house and the expensive studios. We're just gonna build our own thing and have some fun. And that's when they said they started working on becoming picking up their instruments again.
Yeah.
And learning to play again and going a little bit back to the drawing board and their roots. And which was interesting to me because I think he said 1.5 years after that, and maybe they put out their other album or not, I can't remember, but he said
Check Your Head.
He said, yeah, after that was when he felt comfortable calling himself a musician.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but he said that, and then also he said going on tour to support that album. Because that stood out to me, because I've always felt that. Well, it's obviously them practicing all that time and playing was the beginning of it, but then going out and doing a tour, because if you're stuck to you become a machine, and you can start to, I always say people who've been touring for 5-6 years that are halfway decent are always going to be way better than you, because they've. If you're doing 100 shows a year, even if you're playing the same songs, like you could play, like you at least have the stamina to be able to play forever.
Right.
As opposed to somebody who's like, oh, I play like 2 hours a day, or not even 2 hours a day, 15 minutes a day, every other day. So like, yeah, doing that will definitely make you
So I guess it was the third album when they started having fun. Well, it seemed like they had fun on the second one, but nobody liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, like
when But the third one was when they kind of went back. Right, to the like instruments and things like that.
Yeah, the third album. Yeah, Check Your Head, and then El Communication.
Okay, on Check Your Head, are there any songs I would recognize? Do you know?
The one that we're playing, oh yes, y'all. Yeah, that.
Is that where Sabotage came from?
Sabotage is Ill Communication, I believe, if I got it right. Yeah, because I think they came off of that album, and then Yak was playing that bass line.
Oh right, yeah.
And they're like, "What's that?" I could be wrong.
I will have to find the album.
I don't have like the tracks. I know the songs and I know some of the albums they're on, but not all of them.
Where does Intergalactic come from?
That is Hella Nasty.
Okay.
That was the huge hit that played for like 3 years or something.
Yeah.
Something
like it's running through my head right now. Just saying the word Intergalactic like sets it off in my brain, and I'll probably be singing it for the next 3 days.
I did a weird remix of it years ago, where I tried to get Beastie Boys in it. There's like 17 samples in that song. With that, I think the other thing was that new locations, we were talking about this earlier, new locations breed new ideas, new creativity, which I thought was cool. How they felt like, well, they didn't feel like, they just kind of ended up in LA, which spawned this other type of creativity they would have never gotten if they would have stayed in New York trying to be the people that everybody wanted them to be. And then when they moved back to New York, that gave them like a reemergence of love for the city. And
they came back as different people than they left.
Yeah.
And they had a new outlook.
Right. So it was like a different New York, and they were different people. So melding that together had its own creative juices. So I thought that was like pretty cool to see like played out.
Right.
With them not even knowing it, you know. Can I tell you some Beastie Boys and me stuff?
Beastie Boys and you?
And me.
Sure.
Not really Beastie Boys and me. Do you guys want to hear? Yeah, we want to hear it, Tels.
This sounds like a kid's book or something, like Beastie Boys and me.
No, so it was funny. My re-emergence of love for the Beastie Boys didn't come really back until like 2002. So I was living in Denton, Texas, Hook'em Eagles. And I was rooming with 4 other dudes. Most all of them were music majors, but one of the guys who lived there, he was like 10 years older than us. I don't remember how old he was.
Really?
But yeah, Casey Dotson, shout out to him. I have not seen him since the day we got married. Not me and Casey, but me and you.
Yeah.
I divorced Casey to marry Michelle.
Right.
But he put me on to Beastie Boys. He had the Beastie Boys anthology video series. So it's a collection of DVDs with all their videos, outtakes, alternates. When DVDs were popping big time, you can change the audio so that you can listen to like the remix. I think you could change the video and the audio.
Really?
So you can like play like this version over that video. Yeah. It was crazy. And so I saw how creative they were and how much fun they were having, because this was coming off of the heels of like the decade, well, not the decade, but the last 5 years or so, and even still to some degree, like gangster rap. And it was just like, I'm sick of everyone being tough, and I'm sick of everybody like not having feelings except for anger. And so it was fun to watch that. So Casey put me onto that, and I was like, oh, I need to go back. So I started to slowly go back and listen to the Beastie Boys with fresh eyes, and kind of like they were saying, like you grow up, you see things differently, and you're like, oh, was actually really good.
Right.
And I don't even remember Paul's Boutique coming out. I think I was just in another space that I didn't even.
So the album actually is good.
Yeah, Paul's Boutique there's good stuff on there, but it is very dense. Like they were saying, there's just so much stuff going on. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't really know what you're trying to say here, but it's like artistically good.
Okay. Got it.
So the other thing was I got sent to the principal's office because of the Beastie Boys. I was singing, was it kindergarten? I was singing Brass Monkey. And I don't know to this day why I got sent to the principal's office. I don't know if it was because I was singing about an alcoholic drink, which I didn't know at the time.
Right.
When I thought of Brass Monkey, I thought of like brass knuckles with like a monkey on it. I think that's one of my thoughts, but I didn't know what Brass Monkey was. It was just a rhyme, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I was saying funky monkey, and I don't know if she thought I was saying another F word. So I don't know if I got in trouble for that. I don't know what I got in trouble for.
Or maybe she didn't think you were saying brass.
No, that was pretty sure. Okay. Maybe, but I was pretty hard on the B.
Okay.
But when you say funky, like, depending, like people are like, wait, what?
Right.
So my mom worked at the school, so I was kind of nervous, but the principal was just like, don't sing that song. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
And it's funny, I have that memory still to this day, going into the principal's office, sitting there in the wooden chair.
Little 6-year-old Josh.
Yeah. And just
getting
waiting.
in trouble for singing Brass Monkey.
Yeah. And so, that was one of the few times that I got in trouble at school was for singing Brass Monkey, that funky monkey. So that was my Beastie Boys.
Monkey,
Beastie Boys and me.
That funky monkey.
I already shared how I was racist towards the Beastie Boys. If that's a thing. I was racist towards, well, they weren't rich forever, but rich, popular white guys.
Right. So the videos, since you were kind of talking about the videos, I don't really remember seeing. I've seen a few of the iconic shots. I don't remember watching. We didn't have MTV when I was a kid, so I didn't watch like these videos growing up.
Why didn't you guys have MTV?
I don't know. We had cable for a minute, and then we didn't have cable for a long time, and then we had cable again at some point. I don't know.
It just seems like your parents would want cable.
I don't know. We had a lot. Maybe, I don't know. We didn't have any money. Maybe I don't know.
I guess your dad watches a lot of hockey and baseball.
Yeah.
There's no reason to pay for that.
Network TV.
It came on.
Right.
It came through the airwaves, unlike it does
Channel
now.
13. We grew up watching
oh, yeah,
British
you guys liked a lot of British stuff.
TV on Channel 13 and you know, NBC, ABC programming on Sunday night. I don't know. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, yeah, like what demographic your parents are in, that like British shows, sports and procedurals. I don't know if they were into that at the time, but it's just like all that stuff was on free antenna vibes. So
I don't know what else. Like family programming, I guess.
And
like,
that's all. Yeah.
All the after school stuff.
Disney,
that's all we need. Yeah.
That was all free.
Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
But so their music videos. I loved watching the clips that they put up about, or even just the clips of the videos they showed of them basically just being dumb, doing whatever they wanted to do, running around town, filming things all by themselves without even at a point where they could have had a budget and done a real music video.
Right.
They still just ran around. Well, the one they had super famous, what's his face?
Spike Jonze?
No.
Well, Spike Jonze is one of them.
Okay, yeah. Spike Jonze. Wasn't there somebody else? I don't know. But they had somebody.
His fake uncle?
No. I thought there was somebody else that was like a famous whatever, but they just ran around the streets with like, he had a nicer camera, but they still didn't have like this big video shoot. But they're all just so silly. Like,
yeah.
I didn't know like they were wearing this lady's clothes. They just I want to know the story behind this house. Like they rented that fancy house in the hills from some rich people who left. They had a locked closet and they got it open and it was full of this woman's clothes that were amazing. And then they just wore them and then made videos and took pictures. And I want to know what this lady thought. Like
it's like a closed version of the first person who stole the gnome and then went around taking pictures with it.
Right.
It's like, hey, I did 5 music videos, a bunch of covers, photo shoots, all in your clothes.
But how freeing is that to just do whatever you want and not really be too concerned about what people think exactly, or like having somebody there to tell you what to do or direct you, I guess. Like the right to party or whatever was
Fight for Your Right.
Fight for You. Yeah. Filmed in their apartment.
Well, their friend's apartment.
Or the friend's apartment.
But still, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a silly.
On MTV all day. And there's these silly videos. They were so silly and funny. And I love that they just ran around town shooting them themselves.
I think that's a kind of like what we were saying. That just goes into what happens when you're 15, or you start when you're 15 and you haven't really experienced, like they didn't experience, to a degree, they hadn't really experienced rejection in a way. They haven't experienced a lack of success. Like everything they did turned to gold. So you're going to still have that childlike heart.
You kind of have this naive confidence.
Yeah, which is awesome. It's the greatest thing, because once a setback hits you, then you start getting all calculated. And like, okay, so we need to do this and strategize and figure out, because we can't fail because then we'll look dumb.
And they even said that after that one album failed, it took them forever to write lyrics.
Right.
To songs, because they were now a little bit scared.
Yeah.
But up until, all these videos just really were like, showed you how free these kids were, and then adults.
Yeah, sadly, I never got to see the Beastie Boys live. I think I might have had a chance one time during Hello Nasty or something to go see them, but I just never did.
I know. I'm sad about that now.
There's a lot of bands I kind of was like, maybe. And now I'm like,
Right.
Because the music doesn't stay the same.
Right.
Like, I think the 2000s Beastie Boys, it was kind of like Hello Nasty was kind of like the apex. I have to revisit Five Boroughs and see, but I think that was the apex, and not doing that. I'm like,
So if we ever get to leave the house again and go to concerts, we're gonna start spending all our money going to shows.
But who are we gonna see?
I don't know. We'll have to see who's out.
I think for me it's kind of hard because I've kind of seen everybody that I want to see in whatever capacity that is. I kind of feel like want to see the Foo Fighters, but I haven't really listened to their new stuff in 13 years, really.
You've seen Foo Fighters before?
No.
No?
No, that's one of my big regrets is not seeing Foo Fighters anywhere. I think the first 4 albums, I really wish I would have gone and seen them.
Yeah.
Ever since then, I'm like, oh, it's cool. I like, like I think they're all amazing and the band's amazing. Like when they did the last Letterman show, when he went off CBS, they did 2 nights and they're like a well-oiled machine of a band. It's insane. So, but like, yeah, just like the new stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. But Dave is now like a rock god. He's like the elder statesman of rock and roll. He's taken over for all the Mick Jaggers and whatever of the world. So, but I don't know who I would see now.
We'd have to really sit and think.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think of who I'm listening to now that's new that I would feel regrettable about it. Like I wish I would have saw Kanye. I wish I would at least went to Yeezus tour. Like I didn't like most of the songs on the album per se. Like I wasn't memorizing the lyrics of all the song because a lot of them were like far out of like groupie stuff, and I'm like, I don't know anything about that. And orgies, I'm like, that's not really my scene, so it didn't really like resonate with me.
Right.
But the spectacle of the show, and then being able to have him possibly do some of the older stuff. But after that, it's kind of
that's the thing with concerts too, is you don't really, just because you don't like the current or new stuff, they always play. They always play the hits.
Yeah.
Or usually somebody they'll bring out something.
Yeah,
older.
They'll play the hits,
but maybe not Kanye. I feel like he might just stick straight to.
If he didn't want, yeah.
If
he just was like, I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing. I'm playing.
Sometimes he's like, I'm not even doing the concert.
Right. I'm playing 3 new songs. That's it.
Right. Yeah, and then storms off stage.
Yeah. That's all. That's all you're getting.
I think. Yeah, it's. I think the issue is. There's a couple of things. There's being burnt out. There's age. There's like we were saying, just you're a different person. So all those things play into seeing an artist a significant amount of time after the work that you really like them for. So right now you're not like when we saw the Smashing Pumpkins, they weren't the raging Smashing Pumpkins that I saw in 97.
Right.
It was still great, but like Billy wasn't going nuts and insane and like, making his fingers bleed playing his guitar. He was playing the guitar, singing, doing a very good job and entertaining, but not going insane because he's a 50-year-old dude. So he's not going to do that. And he still has a voice so far, but at some point, also your voice fails, your health, one of your members, they're not as good as they used to be, but you got to keep them on because that's kind of like the vibe. People are like, we can't get rid of Gene Simmons. Meanwhile, like his figures don't work or whatever, No, I don't know what Gene Simmons' state is, but I think those type of things kind of play into it being a problem. And plus they're kind of like, I don't really like rocking. I kind of like acoustic guitar. And so when they play the songs, they're like, oh, let's do them differently. Let's like totally
right.
Like add 6 guitars and,
You know who I would go see because I think it'd be a fun show? Not that I've heard anything from him in a while. Bruno Mars.
Yeah, I'd go see him.
I think it'd be a fun show.
Depends on the price, but yeah.
I would see Beyonce. I would go to a Gaga show. Not because I'm super fans, but because of the show.
Right.
Like I feel like it's an experience. Like I like them fine. I'm not super fans. But I think the experience of it would be fun and memorable.
Right. I think Pink's show was amazing.
Pink,
what we saw when she did that, the areolas, aeronautics, aerials. I don't know. Yeah, went back. That was like a long time ago.
Yeah,
when she was doing that. But yeah, I think that I almost had us go, but I forgot what was going on. I think it was something
to Pink.
No.
Oh.
To Deftones. Dia
Oh, okay.
Deftones. I think it was a church thing, and I decided not to go.
Oh yeah, you would see Deftones.
So
that's what you're listening to.
This comes back
a lot right now, right?
Yeah, not so much right now.
Or you were?
I was. I was listening so much I had to just like let me stop before I
before you ruin it.
It's like listening to Gore like 10 times a day,
right,
all the way through.
Oh, speaking of, isn't there a Beastie Boys song that you can't really listen to? A couple of them, right? You said you can't really listen to because you heard them so much.
Oh yeah, Fight for Your Right to Party.
Yeah.
No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
Yeah. That's what.
Those were like I was saying, those were the frat white guy like kind of vibes,
right?
And they were doing it as a joke, but like they said, those guys were like, "Yeah, you speak our language." And I was like, "Oh my goodness!" So when they came out, I was like, "Oh, this is cool." This is that vibe. But everybody loves old school. Everybody loves the frat movies, and like people shouldn't lie and be like, "Oh." Like even the most feminist person is probably like, oh, like because it's just silly, stupid. Like everybody wants to be silly, stupid in some sort of way. I'm not saying everyone's going to adopt every aspect of that lifestyle, but everybody wants to be able to be free and be silly and stupid. But when it just keeps being like if Animal House comes out and then there's another knockoff Animal House and it's like every movie that's coming out is a frat boy movie, and that's what the radio was. It was like every 5 minutes was Fight for Your Right to Party, No Sleep Till Brooklyn. And I feel like there was a ton of better songs on those albums.
Right. So. Yeah. Well, yeah, songs can definitely get played.
Like, don't want to close my eyes.
Oh my gosh, I can't. And, every time I hear that, it takes me right back there and I hate it.
And what was the song? The Goo Goo Dolls song? The Angels, City of Angels or whatever?
Yeah.
And I don't want the world to... Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
The 90s had so many like mega play, and you couldn't go to Spotify or nothing. It was just like you would turn to Q102.
Yeah.
Actually, that's...
Oh, it would be... That was the worst when it was on all the stations at the same time.
No, when they crossed over. That was the worst. They were on all the stations because they crossed over. So it was like you would hear Third Eye Blind on Adult Contemporary, Third Eye Blind on Q102, Third Eye Blind on 97.1 The Eagle, Third Eye Blind.
You're like, no.
You're like, I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. Like, how is this playing in sequence?
And the song at the time, in the moment when it first came out, you think these songs are so great and so big and whatever. And then it's just like something about those songs.
I think there's I can't remember. There's a song I've come back around on. Sex and Candy. When I listened to that song, I wanted to murder anything. Anything.
Because it was too much?
You put a baby kitten and squeeze its head like, no more Marcy's Playground. When I hear that song now, I'm like, oh.
Okay.
And then the song, what was that song? The song like something in a telephone booth, and it was on I'm about to say Family Guy, the Cable Guy soundtrack. It played all the time. I hated it. And then I would listen to it one time on some 90s mix, and I was like, this is actually a really good song.
Like, oh, all right.
It was just drilled into me and traumatic, but now it's cool. So now that we've got on a huge 90s
tangent
/ we've turned into a music podcast.
Sorry.
We'll come back and land safely in the bosom of the Beastie Boys.
Can I give you probably one of the best quotes from this live documentary experience?
Drop it like it's hot.
And it happened within the first 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
And it was delivered by a cute little boy, probably like, 8 years old or something?
I can't even remember what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, it was in the beginning, and he's looking straight at the camera, and he says, of Beastie Boys, they stayed together the whole adventure.
Oh, yeah. They said adventure.
Best. Yeah.
I liked it.
So they stayed together the whole adventure.
And now I want somebody to make a Beastie Boys video game where they adventure through song making.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we stayed together the whole adventure of this Beastie Boys documentary. We want to let you know that you need to go watch it right now. We watched it for free because we got the 7-day trial. So if you don't have Apple Music,
Apple Plus
Apple TV Plus to the max, then grab it and watch it.
Watch it and binge watch whatever else in the next 7 days we are.
We're going to watch The Morning Show.
Mm-hmm. And maybe a couple other things that have come out recently, if we can fit it in. In the next 7 days. Because we ain't paying you $5 a month.
That's right.
Apple.
That's right. So, guys, don't forget to go to heywejustsawmovie.com to get to where the podcast can be found. It's obviously on Apple. It's obviously on Google Podcasts. It's obviously now on Stitcher. Just
obviously on Spotify.
It's obviously on Spotify. So if you were like, I don't know where to get this thing, then you're not listening.
Right.
You're just not listening.
Go to the website.
Yeah.
What's the website again?
Website is heywejustsawmovie.com. And shout out again to Ben, our sponsor. We're trying to get more sponsors so we
Patreon Ben
hook you guys up in different ways. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your pa. We want
it's fun when you listen together.
Yeah, and when you share and build a community. Maybe kind of like the Beastie Boys said, you will find a friend in your love for the podcast, or a significant other, or a band member.
And then maybe you'll stay together for the whole adventure.
Right. And then you guys will then start your own podcast about something you like. And you're like, wow, those people really made me feel like me and Sarah could do it.
Right.
Have a relationship and not argue and review ceramic cups.
Yeah. Whatever floats your boat, or your ceramic cup.
That's right.
So really, we just want you to go on this adventure with us.
Yes, the whole time.
Yes,
listen to all of them. Start from the beginning.
Some of the episodes might be a little rough. We were figuring things out. But hang in there, guys.
Some of the episodes might be still rough. But hey, we're figuring this out. It's a journey just like the Beastie Boys.
Yes.
Went on.
On that. Bye-bye.
Bye.